Discussion on verses 1 to 30 of 30. This chapter begins with a declaration of the absolute authority, ownership, and power of Allah, the Exalted, over the entire creation. Nothing exists independently of His will, and nothing operates outside His control. Every kingdom, system, and force within the universe ultimately functions according to His command and permission. Human beings often imagine that power belongs to rulers, governments, institutions, or wealthy individuals. Yet these forms of authority are temporary and limited. They exist only because Allah, the Exalted, has allowed them to exist, and they can disappear at any moment according to His decree. True and permanent dominion belongs only to Him. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 1.
Blessed is he in whose hand is dominion, and he is over all things competent.
As the entire creation belongs to and remains under the complete authority and jurisdiction of Allah, the Exalted, every person ultimately has no choice but to live under His rule. Whether a person acknowledges this reality or not, they still exist within the system created and controlled by Him. In worldly life, people quickly recognize the authority of governments and legal systems. If a person violates the laws of the country in which they live, they face consequences such as fines, imprisonment, or other punishments. Because of this, people often adjust their behavior in order to avoid these outcomes. Yet the authority of human governments is limited and temporary, whereas the authority of Allah, the Exalted, is universal and eternal. Therefore, if a person ignores the rules established by Allah, the Exalted, they will inevitably face consequences not only in this world but also in the hereafter. In worldly matters, a person who becomes dissatisfied with the laws of one country may decide to leave and move to another place whose laws they prefer. Migration provides an escape from one legal system to another. However, no such escape exists from the dominion of Allah, the Exalted. There is no place in the skies or the earth where His authority does not apply. A person cannot flee to another region of the universe where the commands of Allah, the Exalted, do not exist. Similarly, while societies sometimes change their laws through political pressure, public opinion, or social movements, no human effort can alter the commands and prohibitions established by Allah, the Exalted. His wisdom, knowledge, and authority are perfect and beyond human manipulation. A simple example from daily life helps clarify this principle. When a person owns a house, they naturally establish rules regarding how that house should be used. Visitors who enter the house understand that they must respect the wishes of the owner. Even if a guest dislikes certain rules within the house, they still recognize that the owner has the right to establish those rules. If someone refuses to respect them, they are asked to leave. In a similar but far greater sense, the entire universe belongs to Allah, the Exalted. Every planet, every system of nature, and every living being exists within the dominion He created. Since He is the owner of everything, He alone has the right to establish the laws which govern human conduct within this world. For this reason, it is in the best interest of every person to accept and comply with the guidance provided by Allah, the Exalted. These divine instructions are not arbitrary restrictions, but are part of a perfect system designed to benefit individuals and societies. The person who understands this reality approaches the teachings of Islam with humility and sincerity. They strive to obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways that please Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Wealth, time, health, relationships, and opportunities are all blessings entrusted to people, and each of these blessings carries responsibilities. When used correctly, these blessings help a person achieve balance, stability, and peace of mind in both this world and the hereafter. A person therefore has two possible approaches toward divine guidance. One approach is to sincerely learn and reflect upon the wisdom behind the commands and prohibitions given by Allah, the Exalted. When a person studies these teachings with an open and thoughtful mind, they begin to understand how these instructions protect individuals from harm, strengthen families, preserve social harmony, and guide people towards spiritual peace. Through reflection, they recognize that the rules established by Allah, the Exalted, are not burdens but safeguards that protect human well-being in both worlds. The second approach is to ignore or reject these teachings and instead follow personal desires, social trends, or cultural pressures. When a person allows desires to determine their behavior, they effectively place their own impulses above divine guidance. At first, this path may appear easier or more attractive, as it allows a person to pursue temporary pleasure without restraint. However, this approach gradually leads to imbalance, regret, and difficulty. A life guided by uncontrolled desire often results in broken relationships, moral confusion, and constant dissatisfaction, because desires constantly change and can never be fully satisfied. Therefore, the person who refuses to comply with the commands of Allah, the Exalted, should recognize that this decision carries consequences. Just as worldly authorities enforce their laws, the ultimate authority of Allah, the Exalted, will also be enforced. The difference is that His judgment cannot be avoided, delayed, or escaped. No argument, protest, or complaint will alter the outcome once accountability arrives. For this reason, the wise person reflects on the reality of divine dominion and chooses obedience willingly, knowing that submission to the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, ultimately leads to stability, peace of mind, and lasting success in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 1.
And He is over all things competent.
Allah, the Exalted, then invites people to reflect on the true purpose behind their existence in this world. Life is not a random occurrence, nor merely an opportunity to pursue temporary pleasure. Rather, it has been deliberately created as a test which examines how people use the blessings they have been granted. Every ability, opportunity, relationship, and possession forms part of this examination. The true measure of success is therefore not the amount a person possesses, but how they use what they have been given. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 2.
He who created death and life to test you, as to which of you is better indeed.
This verse also highlights an important reality. The test of life is not based on who performs the most actions, but on who performs better actions. A small action performed sincerely and correctly can outweigh many actions performed carelessly or for worldly recognition. The one who understands this reality strives to use every blessing in a manner pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. They fulfill their duties, avoid what has been prohibited, and face life's trials with patience according to the teachings found in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Those who successfully pass this test achieve a state of balance within their lives. Because their priorities are guided by divine teachings, they learn to place everything and everyone in their proper position. Their relationship with Allah, the Exalted, remains their highest priority, followed by their responsibilities toward their families, society, and themselves. This correct arrangement creates stability within their heart and mind. As a result, they experience peace of mind in both worlds through obtaining a balanced mental and physical state, and through correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. Even when difficulties arise, they are able to face them with patience and clarity, because their understanding of life remains rooted in a higher purpose. In contrast, those who persist in disobeying Allah, the Exalted, misuse the blessings they have been granted. Instead of using their wealth, time, abilities, and relationships in ways that lead toward obedience, they use them to pursue temporary desires or social approval. Over time, this attitude gradually disturbs their inner balance. When a person's priorities are not guided by divine teachings, they begin to misplace things within their life. Wealth may be prioritized above family, status above character, and pleasure above responsibility. Because everything is placed in the wrong position, even the blessings they possess begin to create stress and difficulty. For example, a career that was meant to provide stability becomes a source of anxiety because the person becomes obsessed with status, competition, and constant financial growth. Wealth that could have been used to bring comfort and generosity, instead, becomes a source of fear, as the person constantly worries about losing it. Friendships become strained because relationships are built upon personal gain, rather than sincerity. Even family relationships begin to suffer when worldly ambitions consume a person's time and attention. When a person continues on this path of disobedience, they often fail to recognize that the true cause of their distress lies within their own behavior. Instead, they begin to blame the wrong people or circumstances for the difficulties they experience. A spouse may be blamed for causing stress, even though the real issue lies in the person's own misplaced priorities. A person may distance themselves from family members or loyal friends, believing that doing so will bring them peace. Yet removing these supportive individuals from their life only deepens their loneliness and confusion. This cycle can gradually lead to serious emotional and psychological problems. When a person continues to pursue worldly desires without guidance, they may attempt to fill their inner emptiness with distractions such as excessive entertainment, harmful habits, or substance abuse. Instead of solving their problems, these actions only increase their distress. Over time, feelings of isolation, dissatisfaction, and despair can develop, sometimes leading individuals toward destructive behavior or even thoughts of ending their own lives. This outcome can be observed clearly when one looks at certain individuals who possess great wealth, fame, or influence. Outwardly, they may appear to have achieved everything the world values, yet many of them still struggle with anxiety, addiction, broken relationships, and emotional instability. Their material success does not protect them from inner turmoil, because their lives lack the balance that comes from obedience to Allah, the Exalted. The luxuries they possess cannot replace the stability that comes from living according to divine guidance. Furthermore, because their attitude has prevented them from preparing for their accountability on Judgment Day, their situation in the hereafter will be even more severe. The blessings they misused in this world will become evidence against them, and the opportunities they wasted will become a source of regret. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 2.
And he is the exalted in might.
Therefore, the test of life ultimately revolves around how a person chooses to use the blessings they have been given. The one who follows divine teachings will gradually achieve balance, clarity, and peace of mind, while the one who ignores this guidance will inevitably face confusion, instability, and regret in both this world and the hereafter. Allah, the Exalted, then clarifies that He does not expect human beings to achieve perfection while navigating the test of life in this world. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 2.
The forgiving.
This indicates that Allah, the Exalted, does not demand a life free from shortcomings. What He requires is a life characterized by sincere effort, using the blessings He has granted in the manner outlined by Islamic teachings, striving to obey Him to the best of one's ability, and returning to Him whenever a sin is committed. The true danger does not lie in falling into error, but in persisting in it without remorse, without repentance, and without any intention to change. When an individual adopts an attitude of sincere striving and regular repentance, Allah, the Exalted, promises forgiveness, mercy, and inner tranquility. Such a person attains peace of mind in this world, because they live with awareness and humility, and they look forward to salvation in the next because their heart continually returns to its Lord. Success is not built upon flawlessness, but upon persistence, upon refusing to abandon the path of obedience and continually seeking the mercy of Allah, the Exalted. After inviting people to succeed in the test of life, Allah, the Exalted, directs their attention toward the creation itself. Reflection upon the universe is one of the clearest ways for a person to recognize both the oneness of the Creator and the purpose behind human existence. The vast skies, the order of the universe, and the precise balance found throughout creation are not random phenomena. Rather, they are signs which point toward the wisdom, power, and control of Allah, the Exalted. By encouraging people to observe the world around them, Allah, the Exalted, teaches them that the universe itself is a powerful reminder that life has been intentionally designed and therefore carries a deliberate purpose. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verses 3-4.
And who created 7 heavens in layers. You do not see in the creation of the Most Merciful any inconsistency. So return your vision to the sky. Do you see any breaks? Then return your vision twice again. Your vision will return to you humbled while it is fatigued.
When a person reflects upon the creation of the skies and the earth, and the countless systems which sustain them, it becomes clear that such balance cannot exist without a single powerful creator who designed and maintains it. For example, when people construct something as simple as a building, careful planning and engineering are required. Architects must design the structure, determine where pillars and supports should be placed, and calculate how the weight of the building will be distributed so that it remains stable and safe. Even a small mistake in these calculations can lead to cracks, instability, or even the collapse of the entire structure. If this level of careful planning is required for something as small and limited as a building, it becomes unreasonable to claim that the skies and the earth came into existence by accident. The universe is vastly more complex than any structure built by human beings. It contains countless stars, galaxies, and systems which function together with remarkable precision. If such a system had no planner or designer, its structure would inevitably contain flaws, instability, and disorder. Yet when one observes the universe carefully, they do not find such chaos. Instead, they witness remarkable harmony, balance, and precision. This clearly indicates the deliberate design and careful planning of the Creator, Allah the Exalted. Chapter 13 Ar-Ra'd verse 2.
It is Allah who erected the heavens without pillars that you can see.
Reflection upon these realities leads a thoughtful person to recognize two important truths. First, the universe must have a creator who possesses complete knowledge, power, and control. Second, if such a creator intentionally designed the universe with such precision, then human life must also have been created with purpose and meaning. The same creator who established order in the universe has also established guidance for human life. Therefore, just as the physical universe operates according to precise laws, human beings must also live according to the guidance provided by Allah the Exalted. When a person reflects in this way, their arrogance gradually disappears. They recognize their own limitations and realize that they are part of a vast and carefully designed creation. This understanding encourages humility and obedience, as the person begins to appreciate that the one who created and sustains the universe is also the one who knows what is best for humanity. As a result, reflection upon creation becomes a powerful means of strengthening faith and motivating a person to use the blessings they have been granted according to divine teachings, thereby helping them achieve balance, clarity, and peace of mind in both worlds. The celestial bodies provide yet another profound testimony to the wisdom and design of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 5.
And we have certainly beautified the nearest heaven with stars, and have made from them what is thrown at the devils, and have prepared for them the punishment of the blaze.
The placement of the stars in the night sky is not random or accidental. Each star occupies a precise position, contributing to a system of extraordinary order. For thousands of years, long before modern instruments like compasses, clocks, or navigation systems, humans depended on the stars to traverse deserts, oceans, and vast stretches of wilderness. Entire civilizations relied on constellations to determine directions, mark the seasons, and structure their daily lives. Remarkably, this method of navigation remains dependable even today, revealing the enduring wisdom embedded in the natural world. Chapter 6 Al-An'am, verse 97.
And it is He who placed for you the stars that you may be guided by them through the darknesses of the land and sea.
Scholars and students of astronomy recognize that the stars cannot have been arranged without purpose. Their motions follow predictable patterns that repeat year after year, with constellations rising and setting at precise intervals that mark seasonal changes. Certain stars signal the approach of winter or the arrival of spring. Mariners of the past navigated entire oceans by observing the North Star, whose fixed position provided a reliable point of reference. Farmers used the appearances of particular constellations to determine optimal planting and harvesting times. Even in modern science, astronomers depend on the consistent movement of celestial bodies to measure time, track planetary orbits, and study the structure of the universe. Such precision and consistency could never arise from randomness or coincidence. The stars serve far more than a decorative function. They are signs, guides, and reminders of divine wisdom. Their patterns and placement reflect intentional design and purposeful planning, a testament to the one who created and governs all things. Their beauty inspires awe, but their utility conveys purpose. In every function, from guiding travelers to marking the seasons, the stars point unmistakably to Allah, the Exalted, whose knowledge encompasses every detail of the universe. The harmony of the heavens demonstrates His power, meticulous planning, and care for creation, inviting reflection and gratitude from all who observe them. The sun's path across the sky demonstrates another remarkable example of balance and divine wisdom. It ensures that the earth receives a precise amount of light and darkness each day, creating an optimal rhythm for human life. The alternation of days and nights, along with their varying lengths throughout the year, enables people to work, rest, and engage in essential activities effectively. If days were excessively long, fatigue and burnout would overwhelm individuals. Conversely, if nights were prolonged, there would be insufficient time to pursue livelihoods, education, or other valuable endeavors. Too short nights would deprive humans of the rest necessary for maintaining physical and mental health. This balance also affects agriculture. Excessive sunlight or darkness would disrupt crop growth, impacting both human and animal sustenance. The sun's precise path, like all cosmic systems, reflects the oneness of Allah, the Exalted. For if multiple deities existed, each with different intentions, the universe would descend into chaos. Chapter 21, Al-Anbiya, verse 22.
Had there been within them, i.e., the heavens and earth gods besides Allah, they both would have been ruined.
The moon complements the sun by reflecting light at night, providing guidance for travelers across deserts, seas, and other terrains, a method of navigation that remains significant even in modern times. Its phases govern the tides, which sustain marine ecosystems and influence the environment. Any disruption in the moon's function could have catastrophic consequences for life on Earth. Together, the sun and moon allow humans to measure time accurately, plan agricultural cycles, and coordinate social and economic activity. Their precise motion and placement serve as clear signs of a creator whose knowledge encompasses all things. The water cycle provides yet another example of perfect balance. Water evaporates from seas, condenses into rain, and falls onto mountains, where natural processes neutralize acidity, making it suitable for consumption by humans and animals. Ocean salinity maintains life within the seas, while allowing ships to traverse the surface. A slight imbalance in these factors could either destroy marine life or hinder maritime transport, but Allah, the Exalted, has ensured that both function in harmony. Rainfall is similarly measured. Too little leads to droughts and famine, while too much causes flooding. Chapter 23, Al-Mustminin, verse 18.
And we have sent down rain from the sky in a measured amount and settled it in the earth. And indeed, we are able to take it away.
The winds are equally essential, supporting pollination for crops, trees, and plants, carrying rain clouds to regions in need, and historically enabling sea navigation. Balanced wind patterns prevent chaos. Without them, the Earth's ecosystems and human livelihoods would be disrupted. Excessive or insufficient winds would create instability in countless systems, from agriculture to climate. Observing these intricately balanced systems, the sun, moon, water cycle, winds, and the accessibility of Earth's resources, reveals undeniable evidence of a single creator. Each system operates with precise timing and harmony, sustaining life and allowing humans to thrive. The interdependence of these elements, their exact placement, and their consistent functioning point directly to Allah, the Exalted, who governs all things with infinite knowledge and wisdom. Those who reflect upon these signs cannot logically deny the existence of one supreme creator, whose power and planning encompass every detail of the universe. Despite the countless signs that demonstrate the oneness of Allah, the Exalted, and the fact that He alone deserves obedience in every situation, many individuals continue to disobey Him. They misuse the blessings He has granted, driven by worldly desires, ambitions, or attachment to transient pleasures. This rebellion against divine guidance disrupts the balance of their lives, resulting in mental and physical unrest. Their relationships, work, health, and priorities become sources of stress rather than comfort. Even those who enjoy wealth, status, or other luxuries may feel deep dissatisfaction, anxiety, or emptiness. Their neglect of preparation for the accountability on Judgment Day compounds their situation, leaving them vulnerable to far graver consequences in the hereafter. Chapter 67, Al-Mulk, verses 6-8.
And for those who disbelieved in their Lord is the punishment of hell, and wretched is the destination. When they are thrown into it, they hear from it a dreadful inhaling while it boils up. It almost bursts with rage.
The vivid and detailed descriptions of the hereafter, including the day of judgment and the torment of hell, serve a critical purpose. They counter the false assumptions and dismissive attitudes that previous nations held toward divine reality. Many past peoples belittled these matters, mocked them, or ignored them, believing that disobedience could coexist with salvation. These misconceptions were often rooted in wishful thinking. People assumed the intercession of a righteous figure could absolve them without personal reform, that mere verbal declarations of faith were sufficient for salvation, or that repentance would be accepted automatically regardless of their deeds. Some even imagined that the punishments of the hereafter would mirror worldly consequences in severity, rather than the true, eternal accountability decreed by Allah, the Exalted. Islamic teachings present these realities in detail, to awaken hearts to their seriousness, and encourage practical obedience. The purpose is not to instill despair, but to ensure people recognize the gravity of their choices and the consequences of misusing blessings. Obedience to Allah, the Exalted, involves correctly utilizing the gifts He has granted, such as time, health, wealth, relationships, and knowledge, in ways that please Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. By internalizing these lessons, a person is protected from complacency, freed from the illusions of false hope, and guided toward a life of sincere accountability. This approach fosters both spiritual and worldly success, ensuring peace of mind, a balanced mental and physical state, and the proper placement of everything and everyone within one's life. In reality, anyone who abandons the divine guidance revealed by Allah, the Exalted, and chooses to follow human-made systems, does so because these systems appear to satisfy their immediate desires. All human-devised codes are shaped by the priorities, ambitions, and self-interest of those who create them. They may emphasize convenience, power, or personal gain, rather than eternal wisdom, justice, and mercy. In contrast, the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, is perfectly balanced and aims to benefit people in this world and the next. Those who hold wealth, influence, or authority are often the most resistant to divine guidance because submission would require them to limit their desires, curb excessive behavior, and act justly toward others. This may reduce their control, privilege, or comfort. Out of fear of losing their advantages, they not only refuse to accept the truth themselves, but may also actively promote similar behavior among others, encouraging people to follow worldly desires rather than the path of Allah, the Exalted. This pattern has been observed throughout history. The first to oppose the holy prophets, peace be upon them, were often the social and political elites, not because of a lack of evidence or understanding, but because accepting the truth would require them to abandon selfish ambitions and live under moral accountability. Their rejection was a matter of pride, arrogance, and desire, not of rational debate. Allah, the Exalted, warns about the final outcome of such behavior. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verses 8-11.
Every time a company is thrown into it, its keepers ask them, "Did there not come to you a warner?" They will say, "Yes, a warner had come to us, but we denied and said, Allah has not sent down anything. You are not but in great error." And they will say, "If only we had been listening or reasoning, we would not be among the companions of the blaze." And they will admit their sin. So it is alienation for the companions of the blaze.
From this warning, it becomes clear that regret can be understood in two distinct forms. The first is worldly regret. People often lament not pursuing certain opportunities in life, delaying marriage, not having children, failing to achieve a professional goal, or missing financial or educational opportunities. These types of regrets, while emotionally real, are temporary. They end with the achievement of the goal, a shift in perspective, or death. Their impact, though uncomfortable, is limited to feelings of sadness, disappointment, or stress, and they do not carry consequences in the eternal sense. In addition, if one attains paradise, all worldly regrets lose their significance in comparison to the eternal reward they receive. The second category is the regrets of the hereafter. These occur in the grave and on Judgment Day, and are far more serious because their duration is not measured in earthly years. Chapter 22 Al-Hajj, verse 47.
And indeed, a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count.
Regrets in the hereafter arise from misusing the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, failing to obey His commands, neglecting the rights of others, and prioritizing worldly desires over eternal success. Unlike temporary regrets, these have real consequences: punishment, suffering, and deprivation of the mercy of Allah. They cannot be resolved by later attempts to compensate in the world once one has passed from it. These regrets are permanent until Allah, the Exalted, admits the individual to paradise, and in some cases, the consequences may last for what feels like an eternity. Chapter 89, Al-Fajr, verses 23 to 24.
And brought within view that day is hell. That day man will remember, but how, i.e., what good to him will be the remembrance? He will say, "Oh, I wish I had sent ahead some good for my life."
The wisdom behind distinguishing between these two types of regret is profound. A person who focuses solely on avoiding worldly regret may live a comfortable life outwardly, but they risk eternal loss by neglecting the preparation required for the hereafter. Conversely, a person who prioritizes actions that please Allah, the Exalted, using their blessings correctly as outlined in Islamic teachings, protects themselves from everlasting regret. For example, a person may feel temporary disappointment for not buying a luxury item, but if they spent that wealth in charity, they earn eternal reward and protection from severe punishment. Similarly, a person may regret avoiding certain worldly pleasures, but by using their time, wealth, and energy to obey Allah, the Exalted, they build a light that will illuminate their path on Judgment Day. Therefore, the wise person invests in eliminating the potential regrets of the hereafter first, knowing that the consequences of ignoring them are far more serious and long-lasting than any temporary discomfort in this life. Reflecting on this encourages a balanced approach to worldly life, fulfilling necessary responsibilities, enjoying permissible comforts, and seeking lawful pleasures, but always within the framework of obedience to Allah, the Exalted. By internalizing this principle, a person achieves peace of mind, a clear sense of purpose, and ultimately secures their success in both this world and the next. Chapter 67, Al-Mulk, verse 12.
Indeed, those who fear their Lord unseen will have forgiveness and great reward.
This verse emphasizes once more that Allah, the Exalted, does not demand flawless conduct from people. What He expects is a sincere intention and genuine effort to obey Him, coupled with a commitment to correct one's behavior whenever mistakes or sins occur. Human beings are inherently fallible, and errors are a natural part of life. The key is not to avoid all wrongdoing, which is impossible, but to recognize one's shortcomings, feel remorse for them, and take concrete steps to rectify them. This principle can be compared to a student learning a new skill. The teacher does not expect the student to perform perfectly on the first attempt. Instead, the teacher values consistent effort, willingness to learn, and the ability to correct mistakes along the way. Similarly, Allah, the Exalted, appreciates a person's sincere striving to obey Him, even when they stumble. A person who continually seeks forgiveness, strives to improve, and realigns their actions with divine guidance is fulfilling the purpose of their life and safeguarding their spiritual and worldly well-being. Moreover, this understanding relieves the heart from despair and unnecessary anxiety. If people believed that perfection was required, many would feel hopeless and overwhelmed by their mistakes, potentially abandoning the path of obedience altogether. By emphasizing effort and sincere repentance over flawlessness, Allah, the Exalted, provides a path of hope, growth, and spiritual development. This creates a dynamic relationship in which a person constantly evolves, using the blessings they have been granted to attain peace of mind, balance, and ultimately, success in both worlds. Even though Allah, the Exalted, does not require perfection, this should not be misinterpreted as a license for complacency or neglect. A person cannot simply claim that they are trying their best to obey Him, while failing to take meaningful practical steps to reform their character and align their actions with divine guidance. Effort must be accompanied by tangible action. Otherwise, the claim of striving remains empty, and the heart may become deceived into thinking that mere intention is sufficient. Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete knowledge of every intention, word, and deed. Nothing escapes His awareness, whether it is hidden in the heart, spoken aloud, or enacted through behavior. Therefore, accountability is inevitable. A person who fails to act upon sincere intentions is ultimately responsible for the gap between their aspirations and their actual deeds. This principle highlights that true striving involves more than desire. It requires consistent effort, practical application, and perseverance in the face of challenges. For example, a person who sincerely wishes to improve their patience but does not practice restraint in daily interactions with family, colleagues, or friends, cannot claim genuine progress. Likewise, one who intends to give charity but never takes steps to organize their finances or seek opportunities to help others has not truly acted on their intention. In each case, Allah, the Exalted, observes both the effort made and the actions neglected, and judgment will reflect this reality. Thus, sincere intention must always be paired with concrete steps toward obedience and self-improvement to fulfill the purpose of life and achieve peace of mind in both worlds. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verses 13 to 14.
And conceal your speech or publicize it. Indeed, he is knowing of that within the breasts. Does he who created not know, while he is the subtle, the acquainted?
After highlighting the signs in the heavens that indicate his oneness, Allah, the Exalted, turns attention to the earth itself, inviting people to reflect on its design, resources, and usability. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 15.
It is he who made the earth tame for you, so walk among its slopes.
The earth has been created with a remarkable balance, allowing humans to cultivate the land for food, build dwellings, and navigate its terrain efficiently. Its landscapes vary in altitude, with higher regions naturally more challenging to inhabit due to thinner air and difficult access, while the majority of land exists at optimal levels suitable for human life. This shows a purposeful design. Although some areas are intentionally inaccessible, most of the earth is easily navigable, making it possible for people to settle, work, and utilize natural resources effectively. This accessibility demonstrates that the earth was not formed randomly, but with the needs of humanity in mind. The earth has also been endowed with natural resources, arranged in a way that prioritizes human survival and well-being. Essential resources, such as fresh water, fertile soil, and forests, are generally abundant and easily obtainable, while less critical or potentially harmful resources are harder to access or limited to certain regions. This deliberate placement indicates the wisdom of the Creator, who considers both benefit and safety in the distribution of resources. Even elements that are harmful, such as poisonous plants or dangerous terrain, exist only in specific locations and are easily avoided by careful observation, reflecting divine mercy and balance. Furthermore, the provision that the earth produces, fruits, grains, vegetables, and other sustenance, is largely safe, nutritious, and suited for human and animal consumption. While some rare plants may be poisonous, these exceptions are minimal and do not threaten the overall availability of food. This shows that Allah, the Exalted, intended the earth to serve as a reliable source of sustenance, balancing variety, safety, and nourishment for all creatures. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 15.
And eat of his provision.
A person who provides for another's needs, such as shelter, food, or support, is considered worthy of gratitude. Similarly, since Allah, the Exalted, has granted all blessings in the universe to people, it is only just and appropriate that they show him gratitude. Gratitude begins with the intention, which requires that a person act solely to seek the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. If actions are performed for any other reason, whether for praise, status, or personal gain, they will not yield reward from Allah, the Exalted. This is emphasized in a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 3154. A sign of a correct and sincere intention is that the person does not expect recognition, appreciation, or compensation from others. Gratitude can also be expressed through speech, by uttering words of praise, acknowledgement, or simply remaining silent instead of speaking inappropriately. Equally important is gratitude in action, which involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When a person shows gratitude in these ways, the blessings they have increase and they achieve peace of mind in both worlds, through attaining a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor.
Moreover, just as a person who owns an object has the right to use it as they wish, Allah, the Exalted, being the creator, owner, and sustainer of everything in the universe, including people, has full authority over the use of all blessings. It is therefore only fair that people obey him, and use the blessings He has entrusted in accordance with His commands. Similarly, when one lends something they own to another, the borrower must respect the owner's wishes. In the same way, Allah, the Exalted, has granted every worldly blessing as a loan, not as a permanent gift. These blessings must be repaid by using them in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. If they are misused or neglected, the person fails to fulfill this trust. In contrast, the blessings of paradise are granted as an eternal gift, free from obligation, and may be enjoyed as one desires. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 43.
And they will be called, "This is paradise which you have been made to inherit for what you used to do."
Therefore, a person must clearly distinguish between worldly blessings, which are a trust to be responsibly managed, and the gifts of paradise, which are an eternal reward for obedience. Misunderstanding this distinction can lead to neglecting responsibilities in this life, and failing to attain the true benefits of both worlds. Not only do the countless signs within the universe point toward the oneness of Allah, the Exalted, and demonstrate that He alone deserves obedience in every circumstance, but they also clearly indicate the reality of resurrection and accountability on Judgment Day. The same wisdom, power, and precision that govern the universe also demonstrate that life after death is not only possible, but inevitable. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 15.
And to Him is the resurrection.
Denying the possibility of human resurrection on the Day of Judgment is a remarkable claim, especially when the created world is filled with countless examples of life emerging from what appears to be death. Allah, the Exalted, has embedded patterns of revival throughout creation, and placed them before people repeatedly, so that reflection may lead them to recognize the truth. These patterns are witnessed daily, seasonally, and across generations. Yet only those who reflect sincerely benefit from them, while those who deliberately ignore these signs remain unconvinced despite the overwhelming evidence around them. One of the clearest examples can be seen when rain falls upon land that appears completely barren. The soil may seem lifeless and dry, yet when rain descends upon it, vegetation begins to emerge. Seeds that were previously dormant, hard, dry, and seemingly dead, absorb water, expand, and break open, producing plants and crops that sustain both people and animals. The transformation is so striking that land which appeared empty can become covered with greenery within a short period of time. If Allah, the Exalted, can revive a seed buried within the earth and bring forth life from it, then resurrecting human beings who are likewise buried within the ground cannot be considered difficult for the one who created both the seed and the human being in the first place. Another powerful sign appears within the cycle of the seasons. During winter, trees often appear lifeless. Their branches become bare, their leaves fall away, and the surrounding landscape may look dull and inactive. Yet when spring arrives, those same trees awaken. Leaves begin to grow again, flowers bloom, and fields become filled with color and vitality. Entire landscapes that once seemed dead suddenly return to life. This transformation repeats itself year after year, silently reminding people that the one who revives the earth after its apparent death is fully capable of resurrecting human beings after their death. Even within the human body itself, signs of renewal and revival are constantly taking place. Cells within the body are continuously dying and being replaced with new ones. Skin renews itself, blood cells are constantly regenerated, and many parts of the body undergo cycles of destruction and reconstruction. Although people may not observe these changes directly, they are occurring every moment. The body that a person possesses today is not identical to the one they possessed years earlier, as many of its cells have already been replaced. This continuous renewal reflects a miniature pattern of resurrection taking place within the human body itself. The natural world contains many other striking examples. A caterpillar enters a cocoon in a state that resembles death or complete inactivity, yet later emerges as a butterfly, transformed into a new form of life. Certain desert plants remain dry and inactive for years, appearing lifeless, yet the moment rain touches them they bloom rapidly, producing vibrant flowers. Forests that have been devastated by fire may appear completely destroyed, but after time, new plants and trees begin to grow from the same soil, gradually restoring the entire ecosystem. Animals that hibernate enter deep states of inactivity during which their bodily functions slow dramatically, Yet when the seasons change, they awaken and resume their lives. Even the oceans reveal similar patterns. Coral reefs that appear damaged or lifeless after certain environmental events can regenerate over time when conditions improve. The skies also reflect cycles of destruction and renewal, as stars collapse and scatter their elements across space, from which new stars and planetary systems eventually form. Thus, creation repeatedly demonstrates that apparent endings are often followed by new beginnings. The daily rhythm of sleep and wakefulness also reflects this truth. When a person sleeps, their senses are suspended, and their awareness of the world disappears. In many ways, sleep resembles a temporary form of death. When the person awakens, it is as though life has been restored once again. Chapter 39 Az-Zumar, verse 42.
Allah takes the souls at the time of their death, and those that do not die He takes during their sleep. Then He keeps those for which He has decreed death, and releases the others for a specified term. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought.
Beyond the signs of revival found throughout nature, the Day of Judgment is also something which must logically occur. When a person observes the universe, they will notice that it operates with extraordinary balance. The Earth, for example, exists at a precise distance from the Sun. If it were slightly closer, extreme heat would make life impossible. If it were slightly further away, temperatures would drop so drastically that living beings could not survive. This delicate balance allows life to flourish on Earth. Similarly, the water cycle functions in a perfectly balanced way. Water evaporates from oceans and other bodies of water, rises into the atmosphere, condenses into clouds, and eventually returns to the Earth as rain. This system continuously replenishes freshwater supplies that sustain plants, animals, and human life. Without this balance, life on Earth could not continue. The ground itself is also created with remarkable balance. Soil must be soft enough to allow delicate roots and shoots to push through it, so that seeds can grow into crops and plants. At the same time, the ground must be strong enough to support large structures, heavy buildings, and vast cities. If the soil were too soft, buildings would collapse. If it were too hard, plants could not grow. Yet Allah, the Exalted, created the earth in a way that fulfills both functions simultaneously. These examples, and countless others, demonstrate that the universe operates according to precise balance and wisdom. However, when one observes human behavior in this world, it becomes clear that a major imbalance exists. Oppressive and tyrannical individuals sometimes live comfortable lives and escape punishment during their lifetime. Conversely, many people suffer injustice, oppression, and hardship without receiving the full reward for their patience and endurance. Some individuals sincerely strive to obey Allah, the Exalted, yet face many difficulties in this world, and receive only a small share of reward. Meanwhile, others openly disobey Him, yet enjoy wealth, comfort, and luxury. If the universe has been established upon balance, then the outcomes of human actions must also eventually be balanced. Since this balance is clearly not fully realized within this world, it must occur in another stage of existence. This is why the Day of Judgment must take place, so that every action, whether good or bad, receives its complete and just outcome. Allah, the Exalted, certainly has the power to reward and punish people fully within this world. However, one of the wisdoms behind delaying complete punishment is that He grants people repeated opportunities to repent and correct their behavior. If punishment were immediate and absolute, many individuals would lose the opportunity to reform themselves. Through delay, Allah the Exalted allows people time to recognize their mistakes and return to obedience. Similarly, believers are not granted their full reward in this world because this world was never meant to be paradise. The complete and perfect reward is reserved for the next life. Furthermore, believing in the unseen, such as the reward awaiting a person after death, is a central aspect of faith. Faith becomes meaningful precisely because it involves trusting in realities that cannot be perceived directly through the five senses. If people were to receive their full reward immediately in this world, belief would no longer require sincerity, patience, or trust in the promise of Allah, the Exalted. Having fear of complete punishment and hope in receiving complete reward in the hereafter plays an important role in shaping behavior. Fear encourages a person to avoid sins and injustice, while hope motivates them to perform good deeds, remain patient during hardship, and continue striving for righteousness. For the day of recompense to begin, however, the current material world must eventually come to an end. Reward and punishment can only be fully distributed once the actions of people have concluded. As long as life continues and people are still performing deeds, the final judgment cannot take place. Therefore, the existence of the Day of Judgment also implies that this worldly life must one day terminate, so that the final accounting of deeds can begin. Reflecting deeply on these realities strengthens a person's certainty in the Day of Judgment. This awareness encourages them to prepare for that inevitable meeting with Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in the correct manner, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Through doing so, a person attains peace of mind and success in both worlds by developing a balanced mental and physical state, and by placing everything and everyone within their life in their proper and rightful position. Chapter 45 Al-Jatiyah, verse 22.
For Allah created the heavens and the earth for a purpose, so that every soul may be paid back for what it has committed, and none will be wronged.
Allah, the Exalted, then warns that accountability is not limited to the next life alone. Although the full and perfect judgment will occur on Judgment Day, people are also held accountable in this world in ways that may not always be immediately obvious to them. Divine justice operates continuously, and its effects can appear through circumstances, consequences, and inner states long before the final reckoning. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verses 16 to 17.
Do you feel secure that he who in the heaven would not cause the earth to swallow you, and suddenly it would sway? Or do you feel secure that he who in the heaven would not send against you a storm of stones? Then you would know how severe was my warning.
These verses warn against becoming complacent or feeling completely secure from the power and accountability of Allah, the Exalted. Human beings often become comfortable when they enjoy stability, wealth, health, or influence, and they may begin to imagine that their position is permanent or that their actions will not carry consequences. Yet the history of humanity repeatedly demonstrates that circumstances can change suddenly and dramatically. Entire nations have vanished, powerful rulers have fallen, and secure communities have faced unexpected disasters. These realities remind people that the control of the universe does not belong to human beings, but to Allah, the Exalted, who can alter circumstances at any moment. In a broader sense, the warning contained within these verses also addresses a common misunderstanding. A person who misuses the blessings they have been granted should not deceive themselves into thinking that the absence of visible punishment means they will escape accountability altogether. Sometimes punishment is delayed as a form of respite, allowing a person further opportunity to reflect, repent, and correct their behavior. At other times, the punishment itself may be subtle and internal rather than dramatic or immediately visible. One of the most significant forms of accountability in this world occurs within a person's own state of mind and heart. When someone persistently misuses the blessings granted to them by Allah, the Exalted, their attitude gradually prevents them from achieving a balanced mental and physical state. They begin to lose clarity in how they organize their life and how they treat the people around them. As a result, they start misplacing everything and everyone within their life. Priorities become distorted, relationships become strained, and the very blessings that were meant to bring comfort and stability begin to produce anxiety and dissatisfaction. For example, wealth that could have been used responsibly to bring security and benefit may instead become a constant source of worry, competition, and fear of loss. A career that could have provided a sense of purpose may instead become a source of relentless pressure and dissatisfaction. Relationships with family members or friends, relationships that should have been a source of emotional support, may become strained because the individual's attitude has become shaped by selfishness, pride, or unrealistic expectations. When this imbalance develops, the individual often fails to recognize the true cause of their distress. Instead of reflecting upon their own behavior and their relationship with Allah, the Exalted, they begin blaming external factors for their difficulties. They may blame their spouse, family members, colleagues, or circumstances for their unhappiness. In some cases, They may distance themselves from those very people who were actually a source of support and goodness in their life. When a person removes these stabilizing influences from their life, the imbalance within their mind and emotions can intensify. Feelings of dissatisfaction may grow into chronic stress, anxiety, or severe mental disturbance. In more extreme cases, the individual may turn toward destructive coping mechanisms such as substance abuse or other harmful behaviors in an attempt to escape their inner turmoil. Over time, the accumulation of these factors can lead to deep despair, severe depression, and in some tragic situations, even thoughts of ending one's life. This pattern can often be observed in people who possess immense worldly blessings, yet persist in misusing them. Many individuals who appear outwardly successful, possessing wealth, fame, influence, or luxury, still experience profound dissatisfaction and inner distress. Their external circumstances may appear comfortable, yet internally they struggle with anxiety, emptiness, and instability. This demonstrates that material prosperity alone cannot produce genuine peace of mind when it is disconnected from obedience to Allah, the Exalted. In reality, true peace of mind is closely tied to living in accordance with the guidance of Allah, the Exalted. When blessings are used correctly, they contribute to balance, stability, and contentment. When they are misused, they gradually transform into sources of tension and disorder within a person's life. Furthermore, when a person's attitude prevents them from recognizing these warnings and correcting their behavior, they also fail to prepare for the far greater accountability that awaits them on Judgment Day. The difficulties they experience in this world may be minor compared to the consequences that could await them in the next life. While worldly distress may last only years or decades, the punishment of the hereafter can extend far beyond human comprehension. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 18.
And already had those before them denied, and how terrible was my reproach.
This verse also serves as a strong reminder against adopting a self-absorbed approach to life, where a person becomes so preoccupied with their own circumstances that they fail to observe the wider realities around them. When someone restricts their attention only to their personal desires, worries, or ambitions, their understanding of life becomes narrow and incomplete. Such an outlook prevents the heart from recognizing the lessons that exist throughout creation and within the experiences of other people. As a result, a person may repeatedly fall into the same mistakes, as they fail to benefit from the warnings and insights that are constantly present around them. In contrast, reflecting upon the events of history, the trials faced by others, and the consequences of different choices is one of the most effective ways of refining one's character. Through observation and reflection, a person gains wisdom without necessarily having to experience every hardship personally. They begin to recognize patterns in human behavior, understand the outcomes of different attitudes, and learn which paths lead to stability and which lead to regret. This process of reflection allows a person to gradually correct their behavior, avoid harmful habits, and move toward a life that is more balanced and purposeful. For instance, when a person observes how some wealthy and famous individuals misuse the blessings they have been granted, important lessons can be drawn. Despite possessing luxury, influence, and comfort, many of these individuals are still overwhelmed by anxiety, dissatisfaction, substance addiction, or severe emotional distress. Some even reach a point where they contemplate ending their own lives, despite having access to every material convenience. Observing such situations demonstrates clearly that genuine tranquility cannot be bought with wealth nor achieved by constantly pursuing personal desires. Instead, peace of mind arises from using one's blessings correctly and maintaining a balanced approach to life. Similarly, witnessing someone struggling with illness should awaken a sense of gratitude for the blessing of health. When a person sees how illness can limit mobility, independence, and daily activities, they are reminded that their own health is a valuable trust which should not be taken for granted. This reflection can motivate them to use their health responsibly, through productive work, acts of kindness, and obedience to Allah, the Exalted, before the opportunity diminishes or disappears. In the same way, observing the difficulties experienced by others due to harmful habits, poor decisions, or neglect of responsibility can provide guidance without requiring personal suffering. For example, seeing the strain that constant conflict causes within families can teach a person the importance of patience, communication, and forgiveness. Observing how uncontrolled greed leads to dishonesty and broken relationships can encourage someone to adopt moderation and integrity instead. The guidance of Islam therefore encourages people to remain observant, thoughtful, and reflective. Instead of living within the narrow boundaries of personal concerns, a person is encouraged to look at the world around them, study the consequences of different behaviors, and extract wisdom from both positive and negative examples. Through this habit of reflection, a person gradually develops insight, humility, and self-awareness. By adopting this broader outlook, individuals become better equipped to refine their character, avoid repeating the mistakes of others, and cultivate a life that leads to lasting peace of mind. This peace arises from obtaining a balanced mental and physical state, and from correctly placing everything and everyone within one's life according to their proper importance and purpose. In this way, reflection upon the world becomes not merely an intellectual exercise but a practical path towards stability, gratitude, and success in both worlds. Allah, the Exalted, then directs attention to another remarkable sign within creation that reflects intentional balance, precision, and wisdom. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 19.
Do they not see the birds above them with wings outspread and sometimes folded in? None holds them aloft except the most merciful.
This verse invites people to reflect on a phenomenon that is witnessed daily, yet rarely considered deeply: the flight of birds. Birds move through the air with remarkable ease, sometimes gliding with their wings extended, and at other times folding them as they change direction or descend. Their ability to remain suspended in the air, travel vast distances, and maneuver with precision is not random. Rather, it is the result of a carefully balanced system established by Allah, the Exalted. One of the fundamental aspects of this system is gravity. Gravity itself is a powerful sign of a controller governing the universe, as it maintains stability and order throughout creation. Without gravity, the structure of the universe would collapse into chaos. For example, gravity plays a major role in maintaining the relationship between the Earth and the Sun. The Earth remains at a precise distance from the Sun, allowing life to exist. If the balance of gravitational forces were altered even slightly, the Earth could drift closer to the Sun and become unbearably hot, or move further away and become too cold to sustain life. This delicate balance demonstrates careful control rather than coincidence. The gravity present on Earth is also perfectly suited for life. If it were significantly stronger, movement would become extremely difficult for humans and animals, and many forms of life would struggle to function. On the other hand, if gravity were significantly weaker, people and creatures would not be able to remain stable on the ground, and everyday movement would become dangerous and chaotic. Instead, gravity has been set at a level that allows humans, animals, and other living beings to walk, run, build, and live comfortably on the surface of the Earth. Bird flight itself demonstrates another layer of balance within this system. Birds must constantly interact with gravity in order to remain airborne. Their bodies have been designed with lightweight structures, powerful muscles, and specially shaped wings that allow them to generate lift and remain suspended in the air. Their wings can spread wide to glide across long distances or fold in to adjust their movement. This design allows birds to travel through the skies, while still remaining subject to the gravitational forces that maintain the balance of the Earth. If birds were unable to fly, the consequences for the natural world would be significant. Birds play an essential role in maintaining ecosystems. Many birds spread seeds across vast distances, allowing forests and vegetation to grow in new areas. Others control insect populations that could otherwise damage crops and plant life. Some birds also help pollinate plants. Their ability to move freely through the air allows them to perform these roles efficiently, maintaining balance within the environment. Even in the modern age, the principles that allow birds to fly continue to influence human technology. Air travel through airplanes relies on the same balanced forces within the atmosphere that Allah, the Exalted, has established. Aircraft must carefully interact with gravity, air pressure, and lift in order to remain airborne. If these forces were not perfectly balanced within the atmosphere, safe air travel would not be possible. The systems that enable modern aviation, are therefore built upon the same natural principles that allow birds to move gracefully through the skies. When a person reflects upon these realities, it becomes clear that the flight of birds is not merely a simple or ordinary sight. It is a sign pointing toward the wisdom and control of Allah, the Exalted, who has established balance throughout the universe. From the gravitational forces that stabilize planets, to the intricate design of a bird's wings, every element works together in harmony. Observing these signs should therefore encourage people to recognize the careful planning behind creation, and inspire them to acknowledge the power, mercy, and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, who sustains the entire universe effortlessly. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 19.
Indeed He is of all things, seeing.
As Allah, the Exalted, alone created and sustains the entire universe, it logically follows that He alone deserves complete obedience. No power, force, or being possesses independent authority that could challenge His control or protect someone from His decree. Everything within existence remains under His command, and therefore relying upon anything else in opposition to Him is both misguided and futile. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 20.
Or who is it that could be an army for you to aid you other than the most merciful?
Human beings often place their trust in wealth, status, connections, institutions, or influential individuals, believing that these things will provide security and protection. Yet in reality, none of these can prevent the consequences of disobedience to Allah, the Exalted. When His decree arrives, all worldly sources of power prove to be weak and unreliable. It is also important to recognize that false deities are not limited to physical idols or statues. Worship can take many forms, and it is possible for a person to devote themselves to other influences without realizing it. In essence, anything that a person consistently obeys in opposition to the command of Allah, the Exalted, becomes a form of authority that they have elevated above Him. This may include social expectations, cultural pressures, popular trends, influential personalities, or even personal desires. In such cases, obedience has been directed away from Allah, the Exalted, towards something created. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 31.
They have taken their scholars and monks as lords besides Allah.
The scholars and monks mentioned in this verse were not physically worshipped in the conventional sense of bowing or praying to them. Rather, they were obeyed in matters where they permitted what Allah, the Exalted, had forbidden or prohibited what He had allowed. By accepting such guidance in opposition to divine command, people effectively elevated these individuals to a position of authority that belonged only to Allah, the Exalted. In this way, obedience itself became a form of worship. A similar principle is mentioned regarding the devil. Chapter 36 Yasin, verse 60.
Did I not enjoin upon you, O children of Adam, that you not worship Satan, for indeed he is to you a clear enemy?
The overwhelming majority of people have not engaged in direct acts of worship toward the devil. However, they may still be described as worshipping him because they follow his suggestions and temptations in opposition to the guidance of Allah, the Exalted. When a person knowingly chooses disobedience and repeatedly follows harmful influences, they are effectively allowing those influences to direct their behavior. In this way, obedience becomes a subtle form of devotion. For this reason, a person must be cautious about what influences they allow to shape their decisions and priorities. If someone consistently disobeys Allah, the Exalted, they will inevitably become subject to other controlling influences. These influences may take many forms, such as social media trends, cultural expectations, fashion standards, peer pressure, powerful individuals, or workplace demands. Gradually, the individual begins organizing their life around satisfying these influences rather than pleasing Allah, the Exalted. Trying to satisfy multiple and constantly changing worldly authorities often leads to exhaustion and stress. Each influence demands loyalty, attention, and conformity, yet their expectations frequently conflict with one another. A person who tries to satisfy them all finds themselves pulled in many directions at once. This situation can be compared to an employee who works under several supervisors, each giving different instructions and expecting immediate results. No matter how hard the employee tries, satisfying all of them becomes nearly impossible. In the same way, a person who abandons sincere servitude to Allah, the Exalted, eventually becomes burdened by numerous competing masters. Each one demands time, attention, and sacrifice, yet none of them provide genuine inner peace. Over time, the individual may experience constant dissatisfaction, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Feelings of loneliness, depression, and despair may gradually appear as their efforts to please these influences fail to produce the happiness they expected. This reality is often visible when observing individuals who possess great fame, wealth, or public admiration, yet remain deeply unhappy. Despite their success and influence, many struggle with emotional instability, addiction, or profound dissatisfaction. Their circumstances demonstrate that external achievements cannot replace the stability that comes from sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Furthermore, the influences that a person obeys in this world will not offer any assistance in the hereafter. Those who followed social trends, influential personalities, or worldly systems in opposition to divine guidance will discover that these entities cannot defend them or reduce their accountability. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 20.
The disbelievers are not but in delusion.
This delusion arises when people place their trust and obedience in created things, while neglecting the one who created them all. To avoid falling into this state, a person must carefully examine their priorities and ensure that their obedience remains directed toward Allah, the Exalted. Any influence that leads to disobedience must be resisted, regardless of how popular or socially accepted it may appear. By committing to obeying Allah, the Exalted, and by using the blessings granted to them in ways outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, a person frees themselves from the burden of competing worldly masters. Through this sincere servitude, they achieve genuine peace of mind in both worlds by developing a balanced mental and physical state, and by correctly placing everything and everyone within their life according to their proper role and importance. Allah, the Exalted, invites people to reflect upon the continuous provision that He alone grants them, and to recognize that their survival depends entirely upon His mercy and support. Every moment of life is sustained through resources and systems that He has placed within creation. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 21.
Or who is it that could provide for you if He withheld His provision?
Human beings may organize systems of agriculture, trade, and technology, but all of these depend upon the resources and laws of nature that Allah, the Exalted, has already established. Without those foundations, none of these systems could function. Every essential aspect of human survival originates from what Allah, the Exalted, has placed on the earth. The food people eat comes from crops, fruits, and animals that depend upon soil, water, sunlight, and natural cycles created and sustained by Him. The water that sustains life comes through rainfall, rivers, and underground sources that operate according to the balanced systems He established. Even the air that people breathe is maintained through a delicate balance within the atmosphere. If any of these systems were disrupted or removed, human life would immediately become impossible. Even many of the inventions that people rely upon today ultimately depend upon the knowledge and materials granted by Allah, the Exalted. Human beings may develop technology, machinery, and infrastructure, but these developments rely on natural resources such as metals, minerals, and energy sources that already exist within the earth. Furthermore, the intellectual ability that allows people to discover and utilize these resources is itself a blessing granted by Allah, the Exalted. Without the ability to think, learn, and innovate, humanity would be unable to benefit from the resources placed before them. In reality, existence itself depends upon the continuous support of Allah, the Exalted. The systems that sustain life, such as the balance of the atmosphere, the cycle of water, the fertility of the soil, and the stability of the earth, operate constantly and reliably because He maintains them. If this support were withdrawn even briefly, life would collapse immediately. This demonstrates that human independence is an illusion, as every individual remains dependent upon divine provision at every moment of their life. Despite this clear dependence, many people fail to show proper gratitude. The reason for this is that true gratitude requires using blessings in ways that please Allah, the Exalted, and this often conflicts with the desires and ambitions that dominate worldly thinking. People frequently wish to use their wealth, abilities, and opportunities solely for personal enjoyment, status, or influence. When they are reminded that these blessings should instead be used responsibly and in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, they may resist this guidance because it limits their ability to pursue their desires without restriction. As a result, some individuals continue benefiting from the provision granted to them, while neglecting the responsibility that accompanies it. Instead of recognizing these blessings as a trust that must be used correctly, they treat them as permanent possessions that they may use however they wish. This attitude gradually leads to ingratitude, as the individual becomes more focused on satisfying their desires than on acknowledging the source of their blessings. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 21.
But they have persisted in insolence and aversion.
The one who persists in ingratitude by misusing the blessings they have been granted will inevitably experience the consequences of this attitude, even if they do not immediately recognize the connection. Ingratitude gradually disrupts a person's inner stability. When blessings are used in ways that contradict the purpose for which they were granted, the individual begins to lose balance in both their mental and physical state. Their priorities become distorted, and they start placing things and people in the wrong positions within their life. Matters that should hold importance may be neglected, while things that deserve little attention begin to dominate their thoughts and efforts. As this imbalance develops, different aspects of life begin to turn into sources of difficulty rather than comfort. Family relationships may become strained, wealth may bring anxiety rather than security, and professional success may produce constant pressure rather than satisfaction. Even when a person possesses luxury, influence, or recognition, the absence of correct priorities prevents them from experiencing genuine peace of mind. Their lifestyle may appear comfortable outwardly, yet internally they struggle with stress, dissatisfaction, and confusion about the direction of their life. In addition to these worldly difficulties, their continued misuse of blessings prevents them from preparing properly for their accountability on Judgment Day. As a result, the hardships they experience in this world may only represent a small portion of the consequences they will face in the next life. In contrast, the person who shows gratitude to Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings granted to them in the correct manner, experiences a very different outcome. Gratitude is not limited to words alone. It is demonstrated by using one's health, wealth, knowledge, and opportunities in ways that align with the guidance found in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When blessings are used correctly, they bring balance and clarity into a person's life. The individual understands the proper role of each responsibility and relationship, and they organize their life accordingly. This balanced outlook allows them to place everything and everyone in their correct position, which gradually produces peace of mind and stability in both worldly matters and spiritual preparation for the hereafter. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 22.
Then is one who walks fallen on his face better guided, or one who walks erect on a straight path?
This verse portrays two distinct conditions. One individual moves through life confused and disoriented, like someone walking with their face toward the ground, unable to see clearly where they are going. Their path is uncertain, and they frequently stumble because they lack proper direction. The other individual walks upright along a clear and straight path. They possess clarity about their purpose, their responsibilities, and the destination they are moving toward. The difference between these two individuals reflects the difference between living according to divine guidance and living according to uncontrolled desires. No matter how advanced a society may become, and regardless of how much knowledge people acquire in different fields, including knowledge concerning the mental and physical aspects of human beings, it remains impossible for humanity to develop a code of conduct that perfectly aligns with human nature while addressing every circumstance, condition, and situation that individuals or societies may encounter throughout history. Human understanding is limited and constantly evolving. New discoveries continue to reshape previous assumptions about psychology, health, social behavior, and many other aspects of human life. For example, modern research continues to reveal new information about the human brain, including the functions of its different regions and how they influence behavior, emotions, and decision-making. Despite centuries of study, scientists are still uncovering basic aspects of how the human mind operates. If humanity has not yet fully understood the mechanisms of its own body and mind, then formulating a flawless and universally beneficial system of conduct becomes an impossible task. Only Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete knowledge of creation. As the creator of human beings, He fully understands their nature, their strengths, their weaknesses, and the environments in which they live. His knowledge encompasses the past, the present, and the future, as well as every possible situation that humanity may encounter. Because of this complete and perfect knowledge, He alone is able to provide a code of conduct that truly benefits humanity in every circumstance. The guidance revealed by Allah, the Exalted, establishes clear standards that distinguish between good and evil, beneficial actions and harmful behavior. It offers principles that enable individuals to organize their lives in a balanced way, allowing them to achieve peace of mind, instead of becoming overwhelmed by stress and confusion. Historical experience repeatedly demonstrates that when people sincerely implement this divine guidance in their personal lives and within their societies, it leads to increased justice, stability, and social harmony. Therefore, people should approach divine guidance with trust and humility, recognizing that it represents what is most beneficial for their well-being. Even when certain aspects of this guidance conflict with personal desires or temporary preferences, a person should remember that true benefit may not always align with immediate comfort. This situation can be compared to a wise patient who follows the advice of a skilled physician. The patient may be required to take medication that tastes unpleasant or to follow a strict diet that limits certain enjoyable foods. Although these restrictions may feel difficult in the moment, the patient understands that the physician's instructions are designed to restore health and prevent greater harm. In the same way, the guidance provided by Allah, the Exalted, may sometimes require discipline and restraint, yet it ultimately leads to a healthier, more balanced, and more peaceful life in both this world and the next. Allah, the Exalted, then directs attention to the creation of the human being itself, a sign that clearly reflects His profound wisdom, creative ability, and generosity. Reflecting upon the human body should naturally lead a person toward gratitude, as it demonstrates the immense number of blessings that have been granted to them from the moment of their creation. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 23.
Say, it is He who has produced you and made for you hearing and vision and hearts. Little are you grateful.
This verse reminds people that their very existence is a gift from Allah, the Exalted. Human beings did not bring themselves into existence, nor did they determine the form, abilities, or faculties with which they were created. Hearing, sight, and the ability to think, understand, and feel are all blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, yet many people fail to reflect upon them or show gratitude for them. Anyone who reflects upon the human body with an open and sincere mind will quickly recognize that its design cannot be the result of random processes without intention or guidance. The human body is composed of numerous systems working together with extraordinary precision. Organs, bones, muscles, nerves, and countless other structures operate in harmony to sustain life. Each component has a specific role, and the success of the entire body depends upon the correct functioning of each part. Such complexity and coordination clearly point toward knowledge, intention, and power behind its creation. Even simple human-made objects demonstrate the necessity of a designer and caretaker. A basic structure such as a house, a bridge, or a machine cannot be constructed without planning, skill, and supervision. Furthermore, these structures require ongoing maintenance to prevent deterioration. If a simple object cannot exist or function without a designer and caretaker, then it would be far more unreasonable to assume that the human being, whose complexity surpasses any human invention, came into existence and continues functioning without a creator and sustainer. The human body operates through countless interconnected processes that must remain carefully balanced. The heart continuously pumps blood throughout the body, delivering oxygen and nutrients to cells. The lungs regulate the intake of oxygen and the removal of carbon dioxide. The brain processes information, controls movement, and regulates vital functions. The digestive system converts food into energy, while the immune system protects the body from harmful organisms. Each of these systems relies on the proper functioning of others, forming an intricate network of cooperation. What is even more remarkable is that these systems function automatically without conscious effort from the individual. A person does not need to command their heart to beat, instruct their lungs to breathe, or consciously manage the complex chemical reactions taking place within their cells. These processes continue day and night throughout a person's entire life. The stability of these functions highlights the continuous support and maintenance provided by Allah, the Exalted. The fragility of this balance also becomes apparent when any part of the system fails. A minor disruption in a bodily process can lead to illness, weakness, or even death. This vulnerability demonstrates how dependent human beings are upon the ongoing stability of their bodily systems. The fact that these processes normally function with such reliability further emphasizes the wisdom and care involved in their design and maintenance. The faculties specifically mentioned in the verse, hearing, sight, and hearts, represent some of the most valuable abilities granted to human beings. Through hearing, people are able to communicate, learn, and understand guidance. Through sight, they observe the world around them and recognize the signs present throughout creation. Through their hearts and minds, they are able to reflect, make decisions, and distinguish between right and wrong. These faculties allow human beings to gain knowledge, build relationships, and navigate the challenges of life. Despite possessing these remarkable abilities, many people fail to use them in ways that lead to gratitude and reflection. Instead of using their hearing to listen to beneficial guidance, their sight to observe the signs of creation, and their minds to contemplate the purpose of life, they may become absorbed in distractions and temporary pursuits. As a result, they overlook the blessings that surround them and neglect the responsibility that accompanies them. The verse therefore serves both as a reminder and a gentle reproach. It reminds people that their existence and abilities are gifts from Allah, the Exalted, and it also highlights that genuine gratitude for these gifts is often lacking. True gratitude requires more than merely acknowledging these blessings verbally. It involves using them in ways that please Allah, the Exalted, by listening to beneficial guidance, reflecting upon the signs within creation, and directing one's thoughts and actions toward obedience and righteousness. When a person reflects upon the remarkable design of the human body and the countless processes that sustain life, it becomes clear that existence is not accidental or self-sustaining. Rather, it is the result of deliberate creation and continuous maintenance by Allah, the Exalted. Recognizing this reality should inspire humility, gratitude, and a sincere commitment to use the faculties one has been granted in ways that lead to success in both this world and the next. Whether a person chooses to show gratitude to Allah, the Exalted, for the countless and continuous blessings granted to them, or whether they neglect this responsibility, the final outcome remains the same. Just as Allah, the Exalted, created human beings and spread them across the earth, He will also gather them together once again for their final accountability on Judgment Day. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 24.
Say, it is He who has multiplied you throughout the earth, and to Him you will be gathered.
This verse draws attention to two profound realities. The first is the way human beings have been spread throughout the earth. From a small beginning, humanity has multiplied across continents, inhabiting diverse environments and forming countless societies and communities. This widespread presence itself demonstrates the power and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, who created human beings and enabled them to live in various climates and conditions across the planet. The second reality is that this dispersal across the earth does not mean separation from accountability. Even though humanity is scattered across vast lands and oceans, all will ultimately be gathered together by Allah, the Exalted. One of the common objections raised by those who deny the Day of Judgment is the claim that resurrection seems impossible because the human body decomposes after death. Over time, bones turn to dust, and the elements that once formed a human body become scattered throughout the earth. In some cases, the remains of a person may be mixed with soil, water, or other natural elements. Some people are buried, others perish in the sea, and some have their bodies cremated with the ashes dispersed into the air or oceans. To those who raise this objection, It appears difficult to imagine how these scattered particles could ever be gathered together again. However, this doubt overlooks the attributes of Allah, the Exalted. He is all-knowing, fully aware of every detail within His creation. Every particle that forms a human being is known to Him, regardless of where it may be located. Nothing within the universe escapes His knowledge or awareness. In addition to possessing complete knowledge, Allah, the Exalted, also has complete power and control over all things. The one who created the human being from nothing in the first place certainly possesses the ability to recreate them once again. To help understand this concept, a person can reflect upon ordinary processes that occur within the world. Many of the foods people consume and items they purchase are produced by gathering ingredients and materials from many different regions of the world. For example, a single manufactured product may contain parts that originate from several different countries. These parts are transported across long distances and eventually assembled in one location to produce a complete item. Similarly, many food products are prepared by combining ingredients grown in different climates and regions before being delivered to markets or consumers. If human beings, with their limited knowledge and ability, are capable of gathering materials from distant parts of the world in order to produce a single item or meal, then it should not be surprising that Allah, the Exalted, whose knowledge and power are limitless, can gather the particles that once formed a human being in order to restore them to life again. The one who created the human body in the first place can certainly recreate it after its elements have dispersed. Furthermore, the recreation of human beings will not involve confusion or error. Every individual possesses unique characteristics that distinguish them from others. Modern knowledge has revealed examples of this uniqueness, such as distinct patterns found in fingerprints and the complex structure known as DNA. These features demonstrate that every human being has a unique identity and physical composition. Allah, the Exalted, is fully aware of these details and far more beyond what humans have discovered. Chapter 75 Al-Qiyamah, verses 3-4.
Does man think that we will not assemble his bones? Yes. We are able even to proportion his fingertips.
Reflecting upon these truths removes doubt regarding resurrection and reinforces the certainty of accountability. Just as Allah, the Exalted, brought human beings into existence and spread them throughout the earth, He will gather them once again so that every action, intention, and decision made during life can be judged with perfect justice. Recognizing this reality encourages a person to use the time and blessings they have been granted wisely, preparing themselves for the inevitable moment when they will stand before their Creator. The leaders of the non-Muslims in Mecca, like those in every generation, often employed deceptive strategies to discourage others from accepting Islam, motivated by fear of losing their leadership and social influence. One such tactic was demanding to know the exact timing of the Day of Judgment. When the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, informed them that only Allah, the Exalted, possesses that knowledge, they falsely used this as evidence that the Day of Judgment would never occur. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verses 25-26.
And they say, when is this promise if you should be truthful? Say, the knowledge is only with Allah, and I am only a clear warner.
This attitude is clearly misguided, for the absence of knowledge about the precise timing of the Day of Judgment does not mean it will not occur. Similarly, people do not know the exact moment of their own death, yet this does not negate the certainty of death. Certain truths, including death and the Day of Judgment, have been deliberately concealed from human perception so that individuals remain in a state of continuous readiness. This ensures that people do not defer their moral and spiritual preparation until the event is imminent. A proactive approach is far more effective than a reactive one. Just as a wise student who knows of an upcoming surprise exam will prepare consistently every day, a student given a fixed date may delay their efforts, falling into complacency. This procrastination reduces the likelihood of success, as preparation becomes inadequate. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 187.
It lays heavily upon the heavens and the earth. It will not come upon you except unexpectedly.
Moreover, Islam addresses those who claim they will only follow divine guidance once all unseen realities, such as angels or other metaphysical aspects, are made visible. This perspective misunderstands the essence of faith. True belief holds significance precisely because it involves trusting in unseen realities without requiring sensory confirmation, such as the existence of Allah, the Exalted. These unseen truths are supported by countless signs in the heavens and on earth. Just as a painting implies a painter, creation itself, with its intricate order and balance, points unmistakably to a creator. In addition, many phenomena in daily life are unseen yet relied upon constantly. Medicines work within the body without the user understanding the precise mechanisms, yet their efficacy is unquestioned. Similarly, the ethical framework of Islam is grounded in evidence, reason, and observable outcomes, but it also relies on unseen truths. Believing in these realities only after they are physically revealed diminishes the uniqueness and merit of faith. The core of human testing lies in the ability to accept and act upon reality, even when it cannot be directly observed, and in exercising sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, despite having the freedom to disobey. Through the sending of the holy prophets, peace and blessings be upon them, and the revelation of divine guidance, Allah, the Exalted, has ensured that individuals have space to exercise judgment, reflect, and choose compliance. Reality is never revealed in such a way that acceptance is unavoidable. If it were, testing would be meaningless, and concepts like reward and accountability would lose significance. Therefore, individuals should not expect to witness the unseen, such as Allah, the Exalted, or His angels, before accepting faith. If such manifestations were to occur, it would mark the cessation of all testing, leaving no opportunity for conscious decision-making. Faith and genuine obedience are valuable precisely because reality is partially hidden, allowing for choice. Were all unseen truths made fully observable, even the most stubborn non-believers and the gravest sinners would have no option but to believe, rendering moral accountability meaningless. The veil over reality preserves the significance of belief, obedience, and moral choice. The complete unveiling of reality, which occurs on the Day of Judgment, marks the end of this testing period and the commencement of ultimate accountability, when every action and decision is judged with absolute justice. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 27.
But when they see it approaching, the faces of those who disbelieve will be distressed, and it will be said, "This is that for which you used to call."
Allah, the Exalted, further emphasizes the inevitability of accountability by reminding the non-Muslims of Mecca, and by extension all people, that no circumstance can prevent them from facing the consequences of their deeds. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 28.
Say, have you considered whether Allah should cause my death and those with me, or have mercy upon us, who can protect the disbelievers from a painful punishment?
This verse conveys a profound principle. Attempts to avoid, ignore, or suppress divine guidance, whether actively, by opposing or removing it from one's life, or passively, by neglecting to act upon it, cannot absolve anyone from accountability. The temporal survival of one's environment, community, or even oneself does not postpone the certainty of consequences in this world or the next. Every action carries an outcome, and the reality of judgment is unavoidable. The verse also highlights the ultimate futility of relying on external protection or allies against divine justice. No person, power, or force can shield someone from the consequences decreed by Allah, the Exalted. Just as one cannot escape death or the unfolding of natural laws, one cannot escape divine accountability. From this, a clear lesson emerges. Wisdom and common sense require individuals to confront reality rather than deny it. One must acknowledge the certainty of judgment and take proactive measures to prepare for it. This preparation is practical and comprehensive, using the blessings of Allah, the Exalted, in ways that are pleasing to Him, fulfilling moral obligations, avoiding harmful actions, and acting with sincerity and justice in one's dealings with others. Such conscious and deliberate engagement with life cultivates a balanced mental and physical state, ensuring that one places everything and everyone appropriately within their life. In essence, accepting the inevitability of accountability and preparing for it through correct conduct is the pathway to true peace of mind. By recognizing the permanence of divine justice and aligning one's actions accordingly, a person secures tranquility in this world while simultaneously safeguarding their standing in the hereafter. This dual benefit underscores the wisdom of obedience and the necessity of consciously applying the teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When a person chooses to follow a path of faith that diverges from societal norms, it often triggers feelings of discomfort or inadequacy in others, especially those whose choices prioritize personal desires over adherence to the guidance of Allah, the Exalted. This dissonance frequently manifests as criticism, sometimes coming even from close family members, aimed at those who remain steadfast in their devotion. Such reactions are rarely rooted in reason, but rather in envy or fear of accountability, revealing more about the critic than the one being criticized. Societal pressures, amplified in modern times by social media, cultural trends, and consumer-driven industries, further challenge those committed to Islamic principles. Islam's guidance, which emphasizes moderation, self-discipline, and responsible use of blessings, often conflicts with the pursuit of unrestrained personal desires promoted by these societal forces. Consequently, individuals who uphold Islamic values may face subtle or overt attempts to dissuade them from practicing their faith. Criticism often targets visible symbols, such as women's dress codes, while other professions and societal dress codes are ignored, highlighting the selective and superficial nature of such objections. These attacks are fundamentally rooted in resistance to Islam's focus on ethical conduct, moderation, and self-restraint, rather than genuine concern over specific practices. The response required of a faithful individual is unwavering commitment to sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Such dedication ensures the blessings granted to them are used in ways that foster a balanced mental and physical state, allowing them to organize their life, relationships, and responsibilities effectively while preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. This steadfastness cultivates inner peace and protects against the corrosive influence of societal pressures and criticism. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 29.
Say, He is the most merciful, we have believed in Him, and upon Him we have relied.
Conversely, seeking the approval of others at the expense of obedience to Allah, the Exalted, invariably leads to mental and emotional imbalance. Indulgence in societal validation encourages misuse of blessings, misplaced priorities, and neglect of personal accountability. Even material comfort and worldly luxury cannot compensate for the inner turmoil and spiritual deficiency that result from prioritizing human approval over divine guidance. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 29.
And you will come to know who it is that is in clear error.
To maintain a resolute mindset, cultivating a strong and informed faith is essential. Faith is fortified through understanding and practicing the clear teachings of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. These sources reveal that genuine obedience to Allah, the Exalted, leads to lasting tranquility in both this life and the hereafter. In contrast, individuals who lack knowledge of Islamic principles or rely solely on personal desires are vulnerable to distraction, doubt, and disobedience. They fail to recognize that surrendering worldly impulses in favor of divine guidance is critical for achieving peace, balance, and preparedness for accountability. Therefore, strengthening faith requires both acquiring knowledge and actively applying it in daily life. This involves correctly using the blessings of Allah, the Exalted, maintaining balance in all aspects of life, and prioritizing responsibilities in accordance with divine guidance. By doing so, a person attains a harmonious mental and physical state, organizes their relationships and resources wisely, and achieves peace in both worlds while remaining steadfast against the challenges posed by societal pressures and personal desires. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 29.
Say, He is the most merciful, we have believed in Him, and upon Him we have relied.
Belief in Allah, the Exalted, extends far beyond ritual observances, such as the obligatory prayers. True faith encompasses complete obedience in every circumstance, including the responsible use of all worldly blessings one has been granted, in accordance with the guidance outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Faith that remains confined to the heart or limited to ritual acts without manifesting in tangible obedience, is incomplete. Obedience requires action, intention, and consistency. Acts performed solely for the pleasure of Allah the Exalted, and not for personal gain, recognition, or social approval. As highlighted in a hadith from Jami at Tirmidhi, number 3154, actions performed with ulterior motives will not earn reward, emphasizing the critical role of sincerity in every endeavor. Engaging with the Holy Quran exemplifies the multidimensional nature of obedience. The first dimension involves regular and accurate recitation, ensuring the words are pronounced and preserved correctly. The second dimension requires understanding its guidance through reliable instruction and sound scholarship. The final and most important dimension is implementation, applying its teachings in one's daily life with the intention of pleasing Allah the Exalted. True commitment is reflected when a person places the guidance of the Holy Quran above personal inclinations, shaping their character, decisions, and priorities according to its principles. This mirrors the actions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, as emphasized in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 1342. A person who selectively follows only those commands or prohibitions that align with their desires demonstrates a superficial relationship with the Holy Quran. Such selective adherence fails to engage with the full wisdom of the scripture, which is intended as comprehensive guidance for both this life and the hereafter. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 82.
And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss.
Treating the Holy Quran merely as a means to address personal hardships, reciting it only during moments of difficulty and neglecting its broader guidance, is analogous to owning a vehicle with numerous features but no engine. It may appear valuable, yet it fails in its essential purpose. Therefore, genuine faith requires both reverence and action. One must seek to understand the Holy Quran fully, implement its teachings across all aspects of life, and prioritize obedience to Allah, the Exalted, above all personal desires and worldly distractions. In doing so, a person safeguards their spiritual well-being, attains a balanced mental and physical state, correctly organizes their life, and prepares themselves for accountability on the Day of Judgment, ultimately achieving peace and success in both worlds. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 29.
Say, He is the most merciful, we have believed in Him, and upon Him we have relied.
Trusting in Allah, the Exalted, means taking practical steps by utilizing the blessings and resources He has granted, while simultaneously recognizing that the ultimate outcome rests in His wisdom. It requires acting responsibly and in accordance with Islamic guidance, while accepting that Allah, the Exalted, will determine what is best, even if the reasoning behind His decisions is not apparent to the individual. For instance, a person who is ill should seek lawful medical treatment, follow the prescribed care, and make every reasonable effort to restore their health, all the while placing their trust in Allah the Exalted to determine whether their condition improves or remains the same. This demonstrates that true reliance on Allah the Exalted is not passive or neglectful. It is an active, balanced approach that combines effort with surrender, acknowledging that while one can act and strive, ultimate control and wisdom belong solely to Allah the Exalted. In this way, reliance on Allah the Exalted promotes a harmonious mental and physical state, encourages responsible decision-making, and ensures that one correctly prioritizes all aspects of life while preparing for accountability on the Day of Judgment. Allah the Exalted concludes this chapter by drawing attention to yet another remarkable sign of His oneness, wisdom, and absolute control over creation. Chapter 67 Al-Mulk, verse 30.
Say, have you considered, if your water was to become sunken into the earth, then who could bring you flowing water?
This verse invites reflection on the intricate and perfectly balanced water cycle, which is essential for life and cannot exist without deliberate design. Water evaporates from oceans, rivers, and other bodies, rises into the atmosphere, and condenses into rain. This rain, sometimes slightly acidic, falls upon mountains that serve as natural reservoirs. The mountain's structure allows them to filter and purify this water, ensuring it becomes suitable for human and animal consumption. From these reservoirs, rivers and streams flow across the land, providing a continuous supply of fresh water, carefully separated from the salt water of the oceans. The wisdom behind this system is profound. Fresh water nourishes life on land, sustaining agriculture, drinking supplies and ecosystems, while salt water supports marine life and prevents the seas from becoming stagnant or polluted. This precise balance demonstrates planning, intention, and care far beyond what random chance could produce. If this system were altered, for instance, if water were to sink uncontrollably into the earth, making it inaccessible, life on Earth would face catastrophe. Humans and animals would struggle to survive, agriculture would fail, and ecosystems would collapse. The flawless integration of evaporation, precipitation, mountain reservoirs, and river systems is a constant and visible reminder of the power, knowledge, and mercy of Allah, the Exalted. It underscores that all blessings are sustained by Him, and He alone has the ability to provide for creation. Observing such systems encourages gratitude, careful stewardship of resources, and recognition that reliance on any other source is futile. This reflection ultimately guides one to obey Allah, the Exalted, by correctly using the blessings He has granted, thereby achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and rightly placing everything and everyone within their life, while preparing for accountability on the Day of Judgment. Therefore, a person must sincerely accept and act upon Islamic teachings for their own well-being, even when doing so conflicts with their immediate desires. This approach is comparable to a wise patient who follows the medical advice of a doctor, taking prescribed bitter medicines and adhering to a strict diet, trusting that these actions will ultimately restore their health. Just as the patient benefits from the doctor's knowledge, so too does a person benefit from submitting to Islamic guidance. Only Allah, the Exalted, possesses the complete knowledge required to ensure a person achieves a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly organizes all aspects of their life. Human knowledge, no matter how advanced or well-researched, is inherently limited. Society may offer guidance on mental and physical well-being, but it cannot anticipate every challenge a person may face, nor can it guarantee freedom from stress or ensure proper prioritization of all aspects of life. Human advice is constrained by limited experience, foresight, biases, and understanding. In contrast, Allah, the Exalted, possesses perfect knowledge and has provided humanity with a complete, divinely guided framework through the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The truth of this guidance becomes evident when one observes the outcomes of those who follow Islamic teachings, versus those who disregard them. While patients often follow a doctor's instructions without fully understanding the underlying science, Allah, the Exalted, invites people to reflect on the teachings of Islam, providing clear signs and reasoning so that they can recognize its benefits and wisdom. Blind obedience is not required. Rather, a person is expected to approach Islam with an open and unbiased mind, evaluating the truth through reflection and insight. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
Moreover, Allah, the Exalted, alone controls the spiritual hearts of people, the very seat of peace of mind, and determines who attains true inner tranquility. Chapter 53 and Najm, verse 43.
And that it is He who makes one laugh and weep.
It is therefore clear that genuine peace of mind is granted only to those who utilize the blessings they have been given in accordance with Islamic teachings. By obeying Allah, the Exalted, and correctly using the provisions and guidance He has provided, a person secures a balanced mental and physical state, arranges the elements and relationships in their life appropriately, and prepares for accountability on the Day of Judgment, achieving true serenity in both worlds. Chapter 16 and Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, Muhammad, his noble family and companions.